Lived in North Memphis all my life. The only time I was away from Memphis was 4.5 years in the service and 4 years at Notre Dame. And I enrolled in the Air Corps, Army Air Corps, 1941, right after Pearl Harbor, about 3 weeks after Pearl Harbor. It was really January the 2nd or 3rd, somewhere around there. But wasn't shortly after that, I got my aerial gunner wings and was sent to Geiger Field, Spokane, Washington. That was the home base of the B-17 Flying Fortress. The Flying Fortress was a 4-engine bomber, and here it is at the top here. They made 12,500 of these planes in World War II at Seattle, Washington, at the Boeing plant. And they carried a 10-man crew. Up in the nose, you had the bombardier. Right at his elbow, the navigator. That's 2. Pilot and co-pilot, 3 and 4. Top turret engineer gunner is 5. Radio man is 6. Ball turret gunner is 7. Left and right waist gunners, 8 and 9. Tail gunner, 10. There's 10 men on each crew. And this plane had 4 engines. We carried 2,780 gallons of gas in the wings. We had 4 big wing tanks. Each engine on this plane took 50 gallons of gas an hour to fly. It took 200 gallons of gas an hour to fly this thing. We had a total flight time of a little over 10 and a half hours. We would carry 8,000 pounds of bombs. We would carry 16 500-pound bombs, 8 on each side of the Bombay. That we used those on industrial targets. When we were bombing submarine pens, those 500-pound bombs would bounce off like ping pong balls. The Germans had about 25 to 30 feet of concrete above each submarine pen at the Wilhelmshaven and in that area on the Baltic. So we substituted 4 2,000-pound bombs when we bombed the submarine pens. And boy, they would really leave a hole in that concrete. We had 13 machine guns on board. Everybody had a machine gun except the pilot. And each gun had about 2,500 rounds of ammunition. Our guns would fire at a rate of 500 rounds a minute. This is a caliber 50 machine gun. So these are duds. They won't go off. I got this at an air show. And we had a range of 1,000 yards maximum. And this is what the Germans fired back at us. This is a 20-millimeter cannon shell. This is what the German planes, they had 2 of these on either side of the fuselage and a 50 calibers in the nose. These would have a range of 1,500 yards. So we had to let the German planes get in a little bit closer because we couldn't hit them at 1,500 yards. So they had a 500-yard advantage on us. Now this is a 20-millimeter shell. This would really do some damage if it hit you. My job was to protect the tail section and keep the German planes from attacking us from the rear. Most of the attacks in the early days came right from the 6 o'clock position. We used the nose of the plane, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock on the right, 6 o'clock on the nose at the tail, and 9 o'clock on the left. And I'm the only guy on the plane flying backwards. I didn't sit in the seat. I straddled a bicycle seat in the tail section of the plane and reared back on a bicycle seat and flew on my knees for 10 and a half hours. Scared all the time. But all my missions were to Germany. I only hit France 1 time. I hit Poland 1 time. I hit Berlin 6 times, Frankfurt 4 times, and all up and down the Ruhr Valley, Essen, Kassel, Dusseldorf, industrial targets. We bombed industrial targets. The British bombed at night. They bombed cities at night in retaliation for the tremendous damage they did to Coventry and East London during the Blitz. Now, we were different. We flew in the daytime. They flew at night. The British tried daylight bombing, but they couldn't keep their planes in formation. We flew real tight formation. In fact, one wing of one plane would be overlapping the wing of the other plane. That's how close we flew. And for protection and to keep the German fighters from penetrating, you know. I was only scheduled to fly 25 missions. That was the rule back in those days. After 25, you were rotated back to the States for further duty. But let me tell you about one mission over Germany. We were coming back from the target, and a bunch of about half a dozen ME-109s came swooping down on us and did quite a bit of damage to the plane. In fact, the co-pilot was killed. He weighed about 220 pounds, and the pilot was about 160. And when the co-pilot fell across the controls, we were at 28,500 then. The plane went into a dive, and before they could pull the injured man, the dead man off the controls, we went from 28,500 to 1,500 feet, and we stretched him out in the radio room. And then the engineer came down and took over the co-pilot seat. So we came across Germany, less than 1,000 feet. And the bombardier said, or the navigator says, you guys want to try to reach a group 30,000 feet? No, it'd take too much gas and would be too much of a target by ourselves. So let's just hedge hop across Germany till we get to the English Channel. And here's my crew picture right here. This man was killed, bombardier was killed, and this man was killed. So we lost 3 men of our crew, killed at different times. And I remember one time we were flying so close together, the plane above us, I was here, and the man above us was like this, and I was in the tail position, and we were taking a lot of fighter attacks and a lot of anti-aircraft. We call it ACAC. And I bowed my head and said a little prayer to myself, and I looked up. The pilot put his hand up like this, "Okay, buddy, everything's going to be okay." And just as he did that, a burst of flak hit in the cockpit, and the whole plane blew up. I dream of that every so often.
You still dream of it?
I have very few. I have more dreams now about people beating me out of my paper route money
Okay.
when I was a teenager.